Monkey is directed by Osgood Perkins, who brought us last year's Longlegs, and is based off of the Stephen King short story about a seemingly harmless wind-up toy monkey who, whenever he bangs on his drums, ends up killing people. I was really excited for this movie for 3 specific reasons. 1, I loved last year's Longlegs. In my opinion, that was one of the best horror films to come out in recent memory. I loved its visuals, I loved its atmosphere, and most importantly, I loved its extremely subtle scares. Reason number 2, I love Stephen King. I come from a household who adores this author. And when it comes to the adaptations of his work, it's rarely ever awful. It's usually either legitimately really good or so bonkers that it ends up extraordinarily entertaining. And reason number 3, from all of the trailers, this looked like it was going to be a dark comedy. I love dark comedies, and we get them so rarely nowadays. So from all of those factors mixed together, I was hoping for a film that was complete and utter insanity personified. And honestly, I was not far off. This movie is nuts. And I mean nuts. From the writing, to the acting, to the directing, every choice is just insane. And they make it clear right from the get-go, this is going to be an extremely insane, dark comedy. It opens with some Final Destination-style death scene, followed by someone trying to flamethrower the monkey. This movie makes it clear in the first couple minutes just what kind of insane you're in for. And throughout the entire runtime, the film's best comedy comes from just how insane the deaths are in this film. I mean, without giving too much of the deaths away, they range from just simple aneurysms to exploding in a pool. And every single one of those deaths is hilarious in their own special way. Whether it's the absurdity of the death, whether it's how the film cuts away from the death right before it actually happens, or just the reaction that the death provokes from some of the characters. That's where the movie is absolutely at its funniest and absolutely at its most entertaining. Also, one of the biggest things that I love about Longlegs, I loved in this film also, and that is the visuals, which are stunningly gothic. It not only allows you to fully observe the absolute absurdity in every single one of these deaths in all of their glory, but there's also a lot of eeriness to a lot of the shots in this movie, especially whenever it focuses on the actual monkey, which, I can't lie, that monkey is creepy as hell. I mean, even just looking at this thing without any music or sound design whatsoever, it instantly puts you on edge, doesn't it? So yes, I loved a lot of this film's absurdity, mainly involving the deaths, and I loved the visuals of the film overall. That said, based on the Rotten Tomatoes score of this film, this is where my unpopular opinions start to come in. For one thing, the acting in this movie is really bad, and I really don't know if it's intentional. A lot of the actors are very stiff and wooden in this film, a lot like how they would be in a Wes Anderson-style production, which in a Wes Anderson film allows for more of the dry sense of humor to come out of the characters. And that dry sense of humor would really land if, whenever someone died in this film, there would barely be any expression on any of the characters' faces. But in this film, they all react like how you would react if something insanely horrific happened right in front of your eyes. In sort of how the script handles the comedy in relation to the directing, it's sort of all over the place. There were parts that were really funny in this film, and then there were some parts that were just sort of eh. Also, for a film based on a short story, it's really odd how crammed this film feels. Like in the first half of the film, it tries to focus on the lives of these 2 twins and how this monkey followed them throughout their youth. And then the last half of the film follows them as they're adults and the monkey returns. But combining both of these things together, the film just feels very rushed. It reminded me of the worst case scenario of what it could have been. You know how it had a full movie dedicated to the kids and a full movie dedicated to the adults? This film feels like a hodgepodge of both of those things, and it just feels like both segments feel rushed. And you really do feel that in a lot of the character motivations in this film. I never cared about 90% of the character drama in this film because I never felt like I had the opportunity to grasp on to each character's personalities. Also, for as much as I admittedly loved the insane death sequences in this film, I can 100% understand why someone wouldn't like that part of the film. It's extremely silly, and a lot of times it's extremely stupid, and there are definitely moments in this film that push the boundaries of what makes something so insane that it's funny and what makes something so insane that it's stupid. That happened a lot for me personally when I was watching the film, so I can completely understand how that would happen with other people's experiences. So yes, even though I definitely liked aspects of this film, mainly its visuals, its insane death sequences, and just that creepy monkey, I can't lie, by the end of the film, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I felt a lot of this film was very uneven, whether it's the story structure, the character development, or just the comedy in general. It felt like a lot of this film was on a balancing act with itself, and sometimes it did balance out. Other times it didn't, and that actually kind of made it more entertaining, and then there were just slight deviations where you could really see the cracks in the armor. It's definitely one of those films where I can completely understand if someone loved it, and I can completely understand if someone didn't, and I can completely understand if someone's somewhere in the middle, because personally, I'm definitely in that latter category. I'm gonna give The Monkey a C-. Just the fact that as I was watching the film, it reminded me of better Stephen King stories, bumped it down a grade in my head. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best. And don't forget to click subscribe and click that bell icon down below to stay up to date on all things movie, all things TV, all things nerd.